covering climate, weather, and the industrial enterprise from Penn State Meteorology. Here is Up in the Air.
Welcome to another episode of Up in the Air. I'm Logan Westrope.
And I'm Kasey Rigner.
Kasey, we're heading into the end of October. Fall is with us.
I know.
Pumpkins are also, it's time to go out and get them. I don't know about you. I've not personally gotten my pumpkins yet. The weather's just been either too warm and not fall-like, or it's been raining every time I try to go during the weekends.
I still need to get mine. Maybe this weekend I'll go make some jack-o'-lanterns, put them outside my apartment.
Yeah, and hopefully Ryan on the Climate Wall will have some good news for us for our weekend forecast. We'll just have to see.
Yep, we have a full episode in store this week. We have updates on Hurricane Michael, how bees were affected during last year's solar eclipse, and Saharan dust moving northwest. All that and more, but first, here's Update in the Air.
Last week, one of the strongest tropical cyclones to ever make landfall in the United States hit the Florida Panhandle coastline. Hurricane Michael, a catastrophic Category 4 hurricane with winds up to 155 miles per hour, roared through Mexico Beach and Panama City, along with other towns in the area in Florida, and continued its path through Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. The storm was so powerful that seismometers along the Gulf Coast detected the storm hundreds of miles before it arrived inland. Just to clarify, seismometers are usually used to measure the intensity of vibration deep into the earth, such as measuring earthquakes. In fact, sometimes just small vibrations can be detected, whether it's a heavy truck going over a bumpy road or a large stadium crowd jumping for joy during a game. Even though these are minimal motions on the seismometer, it is still quite impressive. This is not the first time other hurricanes have been detected, which shows that just a normal Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane can still be very powerful. With Michael, as wave heights were up to nearly 20 feet plus, crashing onto the shore, in addition to the devastating winds, the force of the storm was exerted on the land and can be felt hundreds of feet below. Who knows, maybe one day seismometers will play a role in forecasting hurricane intensity in the future.
Climate models that have been used until now need to be modified. The world's climate is in an even more critical state than previously thought. Folks at TU Wine explain that winters are getting shorter and plants are turning greener sooner. It was not clear about what this meant for plant growth in the summer and autumn, and for the amount of CO2 used during photosynthesis. For the first time, the Department of Geodesy and Geoinformation at TU Wine was able to investigate the global patterns of this effect using satellite data. They analyzed satellite images from the past 30 years, examining the entire globe of the northern 30th parallel from southern Europe and Japan to the most northerly tundra regions. Light is strongly absorbed in areas of high vegetation, and infrared radiation is strongly reflected. With this knowledge, they were able to determine how much photosynthesis occurs and how much carbon is taken up during photosynthesis across the globe on a point-by-point basis. When spring-like weather begins earlier, it's reasonable to assume that plants will have more growth, absorb more carbon, and produce more biomass as a result. But that isn't the case. The data show that the northern hemisphere is in fact greener in the spring when temperatures are usually warm. This impact is reversed for the summer and fall, even leading to a reduction in carbon uptake as a result of the rise in temperature. The department at TU Wine suggests that there may be a range of reasons for this occurrence. Matthias Forkel of the department says, unfortunately, this changes climate forecasts for the worst. We have to assume that the consequences of global warming will be even more dramatic than previously thought.
To think that 1 year ago, in August 2017, the Great American Eclipse took place, allowing millions across the nation to take part in this historic scientific event. The eclipse not only took the general public by surprise when it occurred, but now researchers are interested in a new study of how bees reacted during the eclipse. In the test, 11 microphones were planted in various flower patches on the path of the eclipse. The experiment was to see how bees reacted before and after totality. From the study, it reveals how quiet and absent bees were in these flower patches on the night of the full solar blackout. When scientists played back the recordings, there were no buzzing sounds at all, just human hand claps or chatter in the background. The microphones were placed in Idaho, Oregon, and mostly in Missouri. The researchers still aren't quite sure what type of bees these areas were consisted of, but they have a feeling that the test spots in Missouri are made up predominantly of bumblebees.
Researchers at NYU Abu Dhabi, along with other scientists, have recognized a new mechanism by which warm dust travels from the Sahara to the Arctic Circle. which has been proven to affect rising temperatures and ice melt in Greenland. These findings highlight the role that the polar jet and associated atmospheric circulation plays in the transport of mineral dust from the Sahara Desert to the Arctic across the eastern side of the North Atlantic Ocean. A strolling polar jet was discovered as responsible for both the emission and transport of dust from northwest Africa to the Arctic. The issue has been linked to an intense Saharan cyclone that formed in early April 2011. The study has found that atmospheric circulation of this nature enables the transport of dust as well as tropical air masses from the subtropics and the mid-latitudes to the Arctic, where approximately half of the warming is now attributed to increased moisture and heat fluxes to the region. The warm, moist air accompanying the dust causes a rise in surface temperatures of 10 degrees Celsius for more than 3 consecutive days upon reaching southeastern Greenland. Succeeding temperature observations detected increasing melting within the ice across the same region. The polar jet stream has been identified as the main driving force for such events, leading to the transport of large amounts of dust to high latitudes. The newly discovered poleward path is considered the most substantial in terms of dust load transport into the Arctic due to the minimal geographical distance between the origin point and the destination.
Many environmentalists and climate change scientists have been monitoring the progress of the countries that signed the Paris Agreement to see if these actual countries have met certain qualifications. The Paris Agreement was made a few years ago to allow countries to sign and manage the amount of greenhouse gases they were emitting to protect the Earth by the year 2030. The project by 3 climate research groups called the Climate Action Tracker have been observing how 32 of these countries on the agreement have been helping their reductions of CO2 emissions. From the calculations and observations, it is quite critical to hear that only 7 countries have made a commitment or effort that would achieve this goal by the year 2030. Some of these countries include Morocco, Gambia, India, and Britain. Unfortunately, the larger contributors to climate change, such as China and the U.S., have not seen successful or noticeable improvements in the last couple of years. Welcome back to the show. Now we're going to turn to a returning host of Up in the Air from last spring and fall 2017, Ms. Vivian Rennie. So nice to have you back.
It's
we missed
so
you.
good to be back. I missed everybody on the show, and I missed coming into the studio.
I know.
It's really good to be back for
But
just 1 week.
You're busy, though. You're now
Very
the
busy.
president of the Earth and Mineral Sciences Student Council. You were vice president the year before, secretary the year before that. So you've been pretty involved, I'd say, through the exec board.
I spend a lot of time in student council, especially over in the Ryan Family Student Center where we're hosted. I spend a lot of time there.
It seems like it, but it's such a great organization. We'd get a lot accomplished. I mean, I'm part of it, and such a fun organization. Tell me about what exactly it is to those that may not know what Stuco is.
Well, we're not particularly your high school student council, as people think. We don't do much governing, but we are the largest student council on campus, even though we're the smallest college, so it's a nice, happy place to be. We've got over 200 active members. We do lots of faculty-student interactions. We have lots of social events. We even send people to conferences, but it's a really great organization that kind of ties our college together as a family, and we also have lots of different kind of subsections. We also have our College of Earth and Mineral Sciences Student Council benefiting Thon, which is one of my favorite parts of student council.
And despite being just a small college within Penn State, we certainly raise a lot of money for Thon, which is such a great cause,
We do. It's a very big deal in the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences. We are actually the number 5 largest earning organization in the general organizations category for Thon. We've been in the top 10 for the past 10 years, which is an amazing thing, especially for a group that's only been together for 15 years.
That's awesome. Anything that you'd like to say to anybody that would like to join?
Well, our Thon organization and student council is really easy to join. We've got websites. Anybody can always email me or any of the executive members. And also, if you don't really want to get involved, you can always donate to our Thon org, and that is really easy to do, and we'll send a link out on that. But it's a really great organization, and I love it so much, and I'm really glad I'm able to talk about it with you guys.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to come back and visit us. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have, but make sure you come back again, and we miss you, Vivian.
I will. I'll come back as much as I can. I miss you guys too.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Vivian. Stay tuned for part of Tweet in the Week coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Kasey, the pattern that we had last week was pretty warm, pretty humid, pretty summer-like too. It seems like we still had to wear our short sleeves. Luckily, we had a cold front that moved through right before the weekend.
Thankfully.
And yeah, it brought a big change to our weather pattern. It's more fall-like now. Leaves are starting to change a little bit quicker. I'm pretty excited about the change.
Said it once before and I'll say it again. My hair does not agree with the humidity, so I'm glad that fall is finally here and it's here to stay.
Me too. Well, hopefully it stays that way. We're going to turn to Ryan on the climate wall, and hopefully he has some good news in store for us. Ryan?
Well, those temperatures are definitely going to remain in the fall, but in terms of today, October 18th, 59 degrees for average high and 40 for a low. Now, throughout the week, we've been bouncing around just under this, but never quite reaching that high or low even. We've been very below this whole past week, except for on Monday. But in terms of these records, 82 in 1938, a sweltering 82, and a frigid 24 in 1939, just a year apart from each other. We have two records for today of October 18th. But in terms of the rest of the country, what can we be seeing? Well, over here in the western part of the country, here in Washington, we have above normal temperatures that spread all the way across to Nebraska and mostly just sticking straight to the coast, especially down in Southern California, where they're also experiencing some above average temperatures. But in terms of the eastern part of the country, here we have very below normal temperatures, except for that little pesky area down in Florida that's still experiencing some above average temperatures. But for you scarf lovers, here in State College, we'll be definitely deep in below normal territory. So you're going to want to have that scarf and jacket ready, continuing on this fall time here, especially for October 23rd to the 29th, which we'll be seeing next week. But in terms of precipitation, also here in Washington, seeing above average precipitation, which is going to help the droughts and the wildfires still raging on in there, except sadly in the southern part of California, we will be experiencing some below to average precipitation. Now that's okay with the average, but below is really going to be a problem for the wildfires happening in Southern California. But in terms of the Four Corners region, they will be experiencing some above normal precipitation as well, which will be fantastic to fix the drought problem they've been seeing. Here in Chicago, also below normal, but the big story down here at the Gulf Coast of Mexico, Texas and Florida are going to be experiencing some very above normal, especially with Louisiana and Alabama, especially seeing some above average temperatures, precipitation, as well. But here in State College, we'll be seeing not too high, not too low in terms of precipitation. On average, we'll be experiencing our normal precipitation that we normally see for this time of year, which is great, seeing as we've had record-breaking amounts of rainfall so far during this year. But we look here at the drought monitor. As I said before, this drought over here in the western part of the country is still causing wildfires to rage on, but those above average precipitation that I showed will definitely help quell those fires, especially here, which we've been seeing here in the Four Corners region, still experiencing massive amounts of drought, which hopefully those above average precipitation will fix. But over here in State College, like I said, extremely record-breaking amounts of rainfall for this time of year, even for the rest of the summer and even into the fall, been experiencing a lot of rain, so drought not really going to be a problem here. But in terms of this fall foliage, up in Maine, they've experienced pretty much the peak and the precipice of their fall foliage, thanks to foliage.network.com for this lovely graphic here. We'll be seeing some very nice colors creeping on down towards us later on in the fall, not too far away. But in terms of this weekend forecast, mostly cloudy skies on Saturday with a chance of showers and a high of 54, and on Sunday, mostly sunny with 45, which is much below our normal 60 degrees that we have this time of year. So, Logan and Kasey, we're definitely going to continue that fall feel.
Hey, well, that's a good thing. I mean, it's about time. It's almost end of October, so it's nice to have this change in our area. So that's all the time we have this week for our Up in the Air episode. I'm Logan Westrope.
And I'm Kasey Rigner.
And be sure to catch us next week, Up in the Air.